Welcome to the podcast. Today, my guest is James Johnston. G'day, James.
How are you?
I'm good.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, thanks for making the trip down.
No, it's good. It's
bit
good.
of a
It's
trek.
nice. I've got my son with me. He's sitting in the background here, and he's on school holidays at the moment. So it's nice. We're on the Gold Coast. We're going to take advantage of being down here as well.
Yeah, it's a shame the weather's a little bit moist, shall we say.
If that's the word you choose to use.
What got you into music in the very first place?
Music was kind of what I've always known. You know, I started singing and started being on stage when I was 4 years old.
Wow.
And the first time that I was ever on stage, I was at my local daycare centre and I was singing Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks. So, you know, country's been in the blood for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a photo of me with a big cowboy hat on, pair of boots, doing the whole thing, holding a guitar that I could not play. And it was funny because all the other kids at that time, and I have vague memories of this, but, you know, my parents have retold me the stories. And all the other kids were there singing, you know, The Wiggles and, you know, whatever other nursery rhyme was. And I got up there and sang Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks, which
Because Garth Brooks was a massive thing in the industry for a while there.
Yeah, Garth was. He's still to this day, funnily enough. I actually saw something only 2 days ago that posted up and it said Luke Combs is the second highest selling and Garth is still number one.
Still number one.
After all this time, you know. And Luke's, you know, he's selling stadiums in Australia, you know. Yeah. So it's, you know, he's a massive superstar, but still Garth is still number one. His success in the 90s was incredible.
Yeah. I mean, and had a massive reputation for the most amazing live shows too.
Yeah, he's been a huge inspiration for me. You know, I watch Garth Brooks concerts over and over and over and take little bits and pieces from his concerts.
Well, if he's had that much success, it's, you know, you can't help but take good things from it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Garth had this thing that, you know, very few artists have, you know, be it, I think like Michael Jackson had it, Prince had it. This presence to like just capture an audience, and often with silence. You know, one of my favorite things that I love about Garth, and I bring this into my own show now, funnily enough, is that he'd do the biggest high energy song running up and down, and then all of a sudden it would just go to black, and then he'd just stand in the middle of the crowd with an acoustic guitar and just start singing. And that the power to hold an audience, it inspires me. I learned so much from watching artists like that.
Wow. So 4 years old and you're doing the Garth Brooks thing. Where to from there?
I spent a lot of years, you know, pretty much my identity and being a singer were linked my entire life. So if you'd ask anybody at my school, you know, it was like, James Johnston, oh, he's that singer, hey. You know, it was always that. So pretty much, you know, I was always jumping up at the school assembly and talent contests, you know, pretty much every week.
Where was school?
A little town called Wingham in New South Wales, Wingham Brush, you know, public school. Mm-hmm. And it was a great little school, good little country school, had about 400 kids in it. But you know, I really, looking back on it, was really thankful for my upbringing in that community. Because it is, you know, Wingham during that time was about 2,500, 3,000 people. So everyone knew everybody, but it was a community. And somebody told me something a couple of years ago, and they were talking about having a career. They said, you know, if you can win your hometown, you can win your state, win your country, win the world, right? And it's something that I really hold on to. And I was lucky that, and I think what I take from that is that having that core base in my home community that supported me, being a kid playing a talent contest, being on Idol, being a country music singer, whatever it was, you know, I always put it back to that is still the core. And I feel very lucky that I had that core community backing me the whole time.
Yeah. Speaking of Idol, you did that quite a few years ago now. Mm. How was that experience, and what was the motivation for you to actually go on the show?
So I was 17 at the time, and as I said, small town kid, Idol was a music career, right? Like, you know, like that's all I knew. You know, I'd played a few gigs up to that. I played a few restaurants and everything like that, but a music career was going on Australian Idol. That was my perception at the time.
Okay.
So at 17, you know, I don't come from a musical family at all. Mum and dad, they sold tractors. I was an absolute outlier. There was nobody in my family that did music. I don't know where it kind of came from. So I didn't really have that, you know, that upbringing of like, I grew up in the music industry. You know, I played talent contests or did all that sort of stuff, but I never really understood the music industry, right? So I went and did Idol, and pretty much fast forward, went through that, ended up coming third on that show. And I think during that time, it was actually a good time to do it. Being 17, I was not an artist. I was a singer of songs, and they say jump, I'd jump. They say you got to wear this, I'd wear this. I didn't question anything, right? And I was fine with that. I was just like, I'm along for the ride.
So you were malleable.
Absolutely malleable. I was living. They plucked me from my little, hometown, and all of a sudden they put you up in this hotel, and then they putting you up in this mansion in the northern beaches. I was like, this is the most amazing thing ever. I remember one of the coolest memories was that JJ's, right? Remember JJ's, the shop? I think it's still around. They sent an email and said, we saw that you're wearing JJ's jeans. Can we send you some clothes? And there was a box of JJ's clothes that arrived. I just thought that was the most amazing thing in my entire life. I'm getting free clothes. This is insane, So I was so naive to the whole process that I really enjoyed it. And I think there was something in that I wasn't thinking 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
If I did it now, I'd hate it because they were like, you got to wear this, you got to sing that.
I guess if you have your own identity and you don't want to be changed into something that you're not.
Yeah. I
guess if it's all natural, it feels like the way that the direction you're being pushed in, it feels natural and it's all good.
Yeah. So I have mixed feelings about it, looking back on it. I'm thankful I did it. I really am thankful I did it because I learned a lot. During the process, I learned a fair bit, but one thing that it was very humbling. Let's say that, right? So I would say if you're an artist, I would say do not go on one of those shows because they will try, unless you are uncompromising on your artistry and you know exactly who you are and you do not care that if that stops you getting, if you are okay that you might get kicked out of the top 40 because of that, because you're not willing to compromise. Because I think some of the people that have the best careers on those shows come in the top 10 or come 8th or whatever, but they did not compromise. So they leave with a fan base. If I went on there today, I'd be like, I sing country music and this is what I do and this is what I wear. And I think if you get all that exposure, because it is huge exposure, you will find a fan that goes, I connect with you. If you did what I did and you just sing, one week you sing a jazz song, then you sing a country song, then you sing a rock song, you have no fan. You're just a singer on a TV show and then you leave as a singer on a TV show. And what that was very humbling was that after the show, I thought I was a superstar. 17-year-old kid, come from the country. I had a chip on my shoulder. I thought I'm like killing it. You know what I mean? Everyone see me on TV. I go to my hometown and I mobbed when I go to my hometown and this is amazing. The reality of that is that I was a flash in the pants, been on TV, 6-month reality TV show person. I was not an artist. So 6 months after I'd done the show, I didn't sell a single ticket. I'd go to venues and they'd have these giant signs out the front being like, James Johnston from Australian Idol, blah, blah, blah. I'd go there and it was one of the hardest things to push through was that you'd go there and a venue owner would be like, we haven't really sold any tickets and, we thought we were going to do really well. But you'd get there and so you still have to perform. They're paying you. And I was towing this weird line between I wasn't an artist. I wasn't doing original music. I was doing a pub gig. But they were kind of paying a little bit of a premium, but not like a massive premium sort of thing. So, a couple extra $100 sort of be there. But then they thought that because you're an idol, they're going to fill the place. So they would.
So there's a level of disappointment from the venue and
every time. And so I spent a year, 2 years doing versions of that. And it was kind of soul destroying because you'd go there, the venue would be all excited when they'd first book you. They'd spend a bunch of money on marketing. You'd get there and hardly anybody would show up. And there's a quick realization that you're just like, oh, no, I got to work. This is not, it doesn't work like that. So after that, I bought a van and my dad and I kitted the van out, right? We put a bunch of beds in the back of this van. And I spent the next kind of 5 years just traveling around the country. And sometimes by myself, sometimes with a mate of mine that would jump in, buddy Chad, and we just traveled. And during that time, it was when that mining boom was happening. So we found ourselves in a lot of the little mining communities out in Roma, kind of out west and everything. And I used to just do those runs. And, playing bar gigs pretty much. Still kind of towing that line between, people publicizing the Idol thing, not really selling tickets. So it was a bit of a weird thing. But at that stage, I think I'd let go of that a little bit because I was just having a big adventure. And, we were sleeping in this van on the side of the beach and, we were enjoying, it was so much of the lifestyle was just being financed through playing the venues and all that sort of stuff. But it was, it taught me a lot. I played, would have played 1,000 odd shows during that period of time. And I think you just learn a lot and you realize, over the course of up to say like 25, I think the fact that I pushed through that and kept going really probably just showed to me that it's like, I want to be a musician for the rest of my life.
I guess there's a lot of things you learn from doing that too. And just the whole developing your voice, working out what songs work, working out how to interact with an audience.
Absolutely.
All of that stuff.
Yeah. The like the skills of the trade, right? Yeah. And it's why it's so interesting to see. I feel like that is a representation of Australian music a lot. It's why I say Keith Urban, right? Keith Urban had success and he's known as like the entertainer over there. It doesn't work like that. One thing I learned in Nashville is because there is such an industry around songwriting and the craft of songwriting that a lot of artists have never played a gig before they have a hit song. And it's really interesting, whereas it doesn't really work like that in Australia.
No.
Most people grind, play the bar gigs, do that. In Nashville, I would say majority don't do that. Majority come up from being songwriters. They write in Nashville for 5 years. All of a sudden, they go the artist. They get plugged into the label system. Then they go out there and they start like, all right, you've got this hit song on radio now. You got to go start playing shows. Wow. And I couldn't imagine that must be daunting because for me, I feel like
a very sharp learning curve.
It is, yeah. I feel very thankful when I had kind of my moment with Raised Like That and the song Connecting. I'd done my 10,000 hours live, so I could go and deliver a show. Not that there wasn't a bunch of things to learn to craft that show in a better way. It was a new thing, delivering a fully hour original show than what I'd done.
Yeah, because that's a very different thing from doing a 4-hour cover pub gig.
Yeah, it is.
Or a corporate gig, for that matter.
Exactly.
They're all a very different. The audiences are different. The audience is there for a different reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It must be so nice playing to a large audience that are there to hear your songs. That must be an amazing feeling.
It is. It's something that was really interesting at the start of my career because Raised Like That came out of the gates pretty strong, right? It kind of put me on the map in a really quick way, but what was weird about that is that I was getting booked for these festivals. I was playing often, where I kind of started was I was still getting kind of main stage gigs. I was lucky that my team and everything really pushed. They were like, we want him on the big stage with the band. It might be 11 o'clock in the morning or whatever, but we want the main stage. So I was delivering this kind of big band show, but I had one song out. So I'd go on this stage and I'd have to fill 45 minutes, an hour of music with most of it being unreleased music. And I would start with Raised Like That. I'd finish with Raised Like That because people would show up. I'd start playing Raised Like That, and all of a sudden you'd get a big crowd. Everyone would be singing along because they know that song.
Yeah.
And then you got to hold them for the next 45 minutes until I finish it with Raised Like That. And it's funny. I think I copped a little flack from playing like Raised Like That twice. I was like, it's the only song people know. I should be playing it half my set, to be honest. But it's funny that I think that actually influenced my writing a lot.
Okay.
Because I tended to write songs then that I could teach an audience. So if you listen to a lot of my earlier releases, there was a lot of stuff like, just stuff that was really basic. I'm gonna head back to a small town. Yeah, I can stand on a crowd that have never heard that song and I say, small town. Yeah, it's so basic. But I was like, I need to write songs that I can just teach the crowd so they can feel a part of it with me. Yeah. So it was funny how that...
It's a way of connecting with the audience.
Exactly, because that was so important to me. And I... coming from playing covers for so long, it was an easy tool to go, I need to win a crowd, I play horses. Or I need to win, and that was always my metric. I'm definitely not one of those artists, and there's different people in different sides of this camp, but I was like, play horses, I'll play Run to Paradise. Like for me, it made me happy seeing a crowd sing.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that drove me. So often, I used to try and blend that a little bit. I'd play my original song, but then I'd break down to like a chorus of horses. And I still do a bit of that today because I want to see the crowd connect with me and I don't want to like lose them for 45 minutes of the set,
What got you into writing the songs? Like obviously songwriting was one of those things that you've worked hard on. When did you start writing songs?
From a very young age, I started writing. I think my first little package CD I was about 8 years old.
Okay.
And it's called That's What I Do. And it's like, and I think the line was, that's what I do to get my pay. And it was a 100% rip-off of a Brooks and Dunn song that I listened to. And it's almost identical, just terrible. But that was when I was just copying, but I liked the idea, like I want to be a country singer, so I'm going to write country songs. about the age of 13 is where I started writing for me, where I just felt things and I just wanted to write songs. And I wrote a lot during that period of time. Stuff that never was going to get shown to anybody. I just wanted to write because I wanted something to say. So I pretty much my whole life I've been writing music in some form or fashion. Even when I was, playing covers or doing the corporate scene and everything, behind the scenes I was always writing music. And funnily enough, the moment that changed everything for me, I'll tell you a little story with this. As you know, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, but I was running Red Tie and I had this company and doing the corporate scene.
And for those people who are listening, Red Tie was a company that booked corporate entertainment.
Yeah. So I was kind of doing the management side of things there for a while. And we had this moment where we did this corporate retreat, call it, right? And what it was, we went to up near Gympie, on the outskirts of Gympie. There's this, those like scout camps. Thing. You book a scout camp. Everyone that kind of had been doing stuff through Red Tie went to this scout camp, and there was about 50 of us there. And on the last day, we invited this guest speaker, and this guest speaker was a fellow called Nam, who lives, is local here in Burleigh, and he's this amazing guy. He is call it a life coach, but he works with a lot of Olympians. Okay. So a lot of people that have won gold medals in sailing and rowing, all sorts of stuff. And he works on the mental side of things. He's an incredibly physical guy as well. He holds records for holding his breath and all sorts of stuff, but he's an amazing guy. And I had come across him during a period of time when I was running the business and the weight of it just got too much. And I remember my mum said to me, she said, you either got to go see a psychologist or, and my buddy, a fellow called Michael McCartney, said, I've been seeing this guy, doing these courses with this guy called Nam. So I went and did this one-on-one thing and it changed my life. It was the most amazing thing. And still to this day, I said it was the best thing I ever did. It really there was something that triggered with it. So it was somebody who was very close to me, very inspiring, and I wanted to gift that to everybody there. I said, this guy changed my life. Mm-hmm. He allowed me to have way more clarity in my life. And I wanted to gift that to everyone there. So he came and he did his talk for an hour and got us doing different exercises. And right at the end, he got us to do one exercise. And he said, I want you to draw your 2 best moments. And draw, specifically not write them down, draw your 2 best moments. And at that stage, I'd been running the business and it was going well. We had lots of people working, doing lots of gigs and, things were all going well. And during that time, I get to travel a lot, through music. The band was getting to do different gigs in different places. Nam got us to do these drawings. I said, draw your 2 best moments. And one of those moments that I drew was, we used to invite clients to come and watch the band and, hopefully would sit down in this kind of venue and they'd watch the band and hopefully they'd book it. That was the deal, right? Mm. After that had finished, the PA was still set up and I sat there with my acoustic guitar and I just started playing all of these original songs that I'd been writing for the last 10 years. And for the next 2 hours, I just played all these songs. There was 10 people in the room and that was it. And I played it and everything that was happening. And that's the moment that I drew. And I realized in that moment, I said, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was I had such clarity. I drew it. I just was sitting there looking at it. And it was strange because I had so many of my friends around me. These things were going well. And I just had this strong sense of I'm not where I'm supposed to be. So 2 weeks later, I sold the business. Signed the contract for the business 2 weeks after that. I called up my friends who said that if you're ever interested in separating from the business. And 2 weeks later, the deal was done. I sold it and I said, I'm going to go and be an original artist. I need to tell my story, all these songs I've been sitting on. So that happened and then I had sold everything, sold my entire life. I had sold my car, I'd sold all my assets. I had a backpack with my clothes on it. I had my guitar left, one guitar left. And I had a visa for America. I was going to Nashville on the 11th of March, 2020.
Wow.
And at that stage, I'd moved in with my now wife and we were living together. And 1st of March, COVID hit. And then 1st of March, they closed the airports. And everything changed because all of a sudden, my plans to go to Nashville was thrown out the window. Mm-hmm. But one thing that I said is that if I'm going to be stuck here, in Australia, I'm going to approach it the way that I did if I was going to be in America, which was Nashville, the art of songwriting. This is to loop back to the songwriting thing, right? Is that one thing I learned about in Nashville is that songwriting is a craft and you need to work on your craft. And the best songwriters there are writing 300 songs a year. They are twice a day, they're in, it's their 9 to 5, they've got a session at 10, and then they've got a session at 3, and they're doing that every day. And I was like, all right, I'm going to approach it like that. And that year I wrote 250 songs by myself. Every day I'd go to work. During the whole lockdown, I was like clocking in at 8 o'clock, finish at 5, I go to work and I write. That's my job. And I was really thankful for that. I think that period of time was so important to set me up to be able to do everything that I've done since then. Because for two reasons. One, I could work on my craft and the art of songwriting and learn, and I studied and I'd listen to other songwriters and I'd try and analyze what they were doing in their songwriting. I really wanted to understand the art of songwriting, as opposed to up to that moment it had all been inspiration, right? I get inspired to write a song, I want to write a song. I wanted to build up my toolkit so when that moment of inspiration comes, I've got all the tools that I can access to like make sure that I craft that song in the best way possible, right? And then the other side of it was I'm thankful I didn't go to America, because one thing about Nashville is that they go, well, this is how we do it in Nashville, right? This sounds like a Nashville song. I'm so thankful that I didn't go to America.
There is a real style.
There is.
Of the Nashville, because I hear it out here a lot. There's a lot of artists who write songs and have a Nashville studio band record their stuff.
Yeah.
And it has a particular sound about it.
It has a sound. I'm thankful that I didn't go straight into that ecosystem. And the reason why is because it allowed me to develop my own sound. And I think in this day and age, more than ever, is that, I talk about artists that go through the Nashville system and then they blow up. That's happening less and less because of social media and TikTok. Artists that are breaking out of Canada, artists, are breaking out of New York that are country artists. There's no longer that, Nashville has the grip on country music that it once did. So I was really thankful that I got to develop my own sound. So when I go and play my shows, I feel, this is me. I'm not trying to play somebody else's song.
It's got something unique.
It is, yeah. And like it or hate it, whatever. It might be for some, might not be for others, but it is my sound. And because it took me a long time to develop that.
When you're going through this songwriting process, are you recording the stuff as you're doing it?
Yeah.
And obviously, so there's a certain level of skill in working out how to record. So you're using something like Pro Tools on a laptop, on a desktop machine? How are you doing it?
No, it started with GarageBand. So I had no idea about any of this, by the way. I didn't even know what an interface was.
That's still a perfectly valid, like a sketchpad.
Yeah, exactly. So it started there, and then it went to Logic, and I ended up using Logic just because I had a Mac, and that's what it was.
And it's a great program.
Yeah, I wasn't a gearhead, and I say that, and I respect people that are. I respect what I'm sitting in this, surrounded by so much incredible stuff. I wasn't, I was. So I had to learn about all that, learning interfaces, learning different what software I needed, how to set up my own little recording studio, and that was a whole process as well, which was fun because during that time I was also learning how to create beats and all that sort of stuff, which I think definitely shaped my writing as well.
So 2020, and you've written all these songs. How do you take it to the next level? How do you get the songs out to the public? What's the process for doing that?
During that time and everything, I'd recorded a whole album, and I was chasing this feeling. I don't know what it was, right? I don't know what that feeling was until I felt it. I wrote the whole album, recorded a whole album, threw that whole album in the bin. Nobody will ever hear that whole album. I spent a bunch of money on it and everything like that, did the whole process. I didn't feel it. And it was that push through, by the way, and even the push through of writing so many songs and going, it's not good enough, it's not good enough. Out of that 250 songs, one song made it. And
in this process, when you're saying it's not good enough, is that just, are you getting feedback from other people, or is this something that's just happening for you?
It was more personal. Okay. I wanted to feel this thing. I wanted to know when I felt it. And I tell you when I felt it, is I wrote Raised Like That. I called my manager that morning And at this stage, this was a loose management agreement. It was a buddy who was doing another job that I was just like, we were working off. He's now my full-time manager, has been for the last few years. And I called him that morning and I said, I'm going to write a song today. It's going to do two things. It's going to be my festival opening song and it's going to tell my story. An hour and a half later, I called him. I said, I did it. And I started off I programmed like doom 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 like that on just programmed a beat, and I just wrote the whole song with an acoustic guitar over that beat. And it was such an easy song to write. As I said, because I told my story about where I came from. I got to use all the tools that I'd learned from writing all the other songs, and I knew that when I started my festival set, I wanted to have a big drum thing. I was like the Phil Collins thing, right? I thought it would be really cool. I wrote that song. I said, I think I did it. I think this is the song. We agreed. We thought, okay, this is the song. It was called Raised Like That. And I sent it over to my buddy in Nashville who'd been working on stuff, and we went back and forth. And I still remember this is one of my favorite, people talk about your favorite moments of the career up to date. Mm-hmm. This was one of them. Mix 7 of Raised Like That. I was driving down to do a songwrite with a band called the Buckleys that live in the Byron Bay. Mm-hmm. And I was on the coast, right here actually, right just passing along Burleigh on the highway. And he sent it to me and I opened it up, put it on my phone and played it in the car. And I just remember that feeling because I'd been searching for that feeling. I've been pushing that feeling. I cut a whole album. I got rid of a whole album because I didn't feel it. Mm-hmm. And I just like screamed at the top of my lungs. I was so excited. I pulled over the side of the highway and I just was like punching the sky. Like for whatever reason, that feeling, it made me feel something. It did that thing that I was just like, this is it. This is what I've been searching for. And it's crazy because I listened back to that song now. I'm like, oh, the mix is terrible, the vocals, blah, 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 all the rest of it. But whatever it was, in that moment, that had been the thing that I've been working my ass off to try and feel. And I'm thankful because other people must have felt it as well.
So I guess that another way of looking at it is, in the past you've been inspired by other people's stuff, and this is something that's self-inspiring.
Yes.
It's like it's something you've created that's inspiring you.
Absolutely. You know what? I hadn't ever really thought about it like that, and I love that because it doesn't happen every time. During that process of writing a lot of songs, there were certain songs that came along that other artists would release. And I had to show somebody else. I had to show them that song. I'm like, it would make me feel something. And it wasn't many. Like there might have been 5 songs out of the like hundreds of songs that I was working on listening to during that time. But that other artists had written that I didn't know, Nashville artists, whatever. But I would listen to it. And I'm like, whatever that is. And yeah, you're right. In that moment, for whatever reason, I felt that when I wrote Raised Like That, Mix 7. That's what it was. Yeah.
Mix 7.
Yeah, I still to this day, Mix 7. I remember it.
What's it like writing with the Buckleys?
Buckleys are great. I love like Sarah. I think is absolutely phenomenal talent. You know, Lockie, the whole crew there. They're a talented bunch and lots of big energy. So yeah, no, I love writing with those guys.
We were talking earlier, and you've got been working on a new album, mm-hmm. and you'd said that you've written 40 songs and recorded and demoed the whole 40 songs.
Yep.
To cull it down to 20. Mm-hmm. And obviously 20 is more than you need from an album.
Yeah.
An album is probably maybe 12.
Mm-hmm.
How many songs would you put in an album?
Well, my first album had 20 songs on it.
20?
So I always like big albums because I get to a point where I'm like, I don't want to cut down anymore.
In old school terms, it's almost a double album.
Yeah, I know, which I didn't realize creates me issues when I'm cutting vinyls and everything. But
So you've got to cull songs. What's the decision process for you in working out what you're going to completely discard, throw it in the bin, never think about it again? Mm-hmm. Especially because obviously you spend a fair bit of time doing that. So it's a big thing to go, I've just spent all this time working on this particular song.
Yeah.
It's not working, throw it in the bin, let's start something fresh.
It's tricky, to be honest, because you give everything to a song. You live it and breathe it, and that day it is the best thing that you've ever written. It's like I feel that so much. I guess if it just stands the test of time a little bit. I like to write and then just give it some air, mm-hmm. and then go, does it stand the test of time? You know, does it still stick around? Am I still thinking about that song a month later?
Do you have any trusted people that you flick the song to and get their feedback? Or is it more, or is it a personal thing for you?
I do, but one of the hard things about music, right? And especially my style of music, I'm not writing music for musicians. You know, I'm just not. Like I remember I said with social media one time, I said, I want my social media to be full of people that are just working everyday jobs and that they're talking and resonating with me. You know, it's like, because that's my music. And there is music that is like more for musicians that like understand the intricacies of like, you know, different chords and all that sort of stuff. My music's not. It's 3 chords and the truth. Like it is basic. I want to see that like 8-year-old kid that's learning to play guitar, strumming away, hacking away at my song.
Goes back to the Garth Brooks theory.
Right? Like I do, and it's only because there's certain things that I love performing my songs live. I love seeing a crowd sing to it. I love that story, and I just want to tell people's stories and my story, but other people connect with it. So back to the question, there's so many people like with so many songs. Sometimes those songs raise their head at a different moment in my life. An example of that, right, is my son's here. I wrote this song called Seeing You Soon about a buddy of mine who was in the mines, and he called me one day and he was missing his daughter, right? That song I wrote like 2018, ages ago, before I was even, you know, fully in and everything like that. And when I was putting my Raise Like That album together, I was going back and listening to just back catalogue songs, and that one came back out, and I just realized that's no longer his story, it's my story. And it's not about his daughter, it's about my son, because I'm away at the moment, away on the road. And my son could end up singing part of the song that I originally heard a female singing or something like that. But but the story goes, you're away on the road and all you want to do is turn around and get back home because how much you miss your daughter originally, but how much, and then when I saw it, it's like how much I miss my son, I just want to get back. And it's funny how like music can do that sometimes, you know, it can have a different life. And there's definitely songs that I think I'm still sitting on that just haven't found their place in my life just yet, but I still love the song. But I think at a time they will be recorded.
If you had to pick out an absolute highlight of all the things that you've done, and you've done quite a few, and toured overseas, and I know that there was a big gig in South Africa that you did not long ago. But of all the things that you've done, what would be the one highlight that would stand out for you?
So in country music, there is one festival that it's like the dream festival that everyone wants to get on, CMC Rocks. That's our big festival. It's where a bunch of international artists play. And I'd been going to CMC Rocks for 5 years. And I used to stand there and I used to go, I was lucky enough I could go in this little, like, it's like a VIP sort of tent thing, but I just had a buddy that used to just get me up there and I could stand at the top of this, it was like a 2-story thing, stand at the top of it. And I used to just watch artists and I used to sit there with my phone and just write notes. And the notes that I used to write were things that I would do and put in my show that I see other artists doing. They do something and I was like, oh, I love that. Write that down. Cool, one day when I stand on that stage, I'm gonna do that in my show. I did that for years. And then finally I got booked to play that gig and it was Sunday at 1 o'clock, but I got to play on the main stage. And I'd worked really hard to get that show together and everything like that. And there was this moment that I was standing behind, there's a giant screen, right? And I'm so nervous at this point. The band walks out and the moment that I walked out behind that screen, it was packed. They'd showed up. It was 1 o'clock and there was 20,000 people. Like as far as I could see, there was people. And I was like, it was that, take your breath away moment. I was like, wow. And it was that moment of like, those kind of the dreams come true, right? It was that moment. It was like, I'd been thinking about this since I was a kid. I'd been watching all these other artists, dreaming about walking out onto this stage. And the nerves just went at that moment. And I was like, there was this realization, I've worked for this my whole life. This moment right here is the sum of all the parts that have led to it. Let's go out and just put on the best show of my life and just give it everything. That show was just incredible. Still, I look back on footage of that show and it was like, wow, that's insane. Like how many people were there? How many people were just singing with me, singing my songs? And and that moved the needle a lot for us. You know, that was, I remember I put everything in it. I think I got paid a quarter of what I spent on that show, by the way. Truly, I put everything in it. I said to my manager, I said, I'm putting my money in my own pocket. I'm going to put the best show. I want to get the best team around. I want to just deliver the best thing I possibly can. And and after that, my manager said the phone was kind of started running hot because we connected.
Yeah. I guess the other thing too is you're leaving an imprint in the minds of all of the people that saw that show too. If you think back about bands that you've seen and shows that you've gone to, there are certain ones that stand out and you go, I mean, everybody has them. It's like that particular moment in your life when you saw that show.
Yeah.
It's I guess that's part of building a fan base.
Totally. I think what was so cool about that too is that I think people felt that thing that this was a big moment, that we're all part of this special moment.
Yeah.
And I remember I stood on that stage at the end and I was almost in tears and I just said thank you. I just said been dreaming about this my whole life and this, I'll never forget this. And I know this can sometimes, artists say that sort of thing and, this is the best city I've ever played until they play the next night sort of thing. But truly in that moment, I was just like, thank you to every single person that has been part of this story. This is I'll never forget this.
Conversely, is there any moment where you thought you might just give it all away and give the music industry away? Absolutely.
Daily in the lead up to for 10 years of my life, it took me, I always had this internal push and pull, right? Like I came from a small business family and they, there was selling tractors. They understood that world and music was not really a part of that. Not that my family didn't support me, they were incredibly supportive. But it also wasn't the standard trajectory. So the idea of you should go to university or get a trade or whatever. Music was always a backup. I'll do it for 1 year. And if it doesn't go well, I'll do something else. Mm-hmm. That was always for 5 or 6 years. And I really struggled with that because I was like, no, you start a business or you be an entrepreneur or you go to university. That I struggled with the identity of music being my job or my life. I struggled with that for a long time. Because it wasn't standard. I didn't come from a creative background. I didn't come from a creative family in the arts or anything. So
it's not an easy career path.
No, it's not.
I guess the difficult part about it is there is no structured way of making it happen either. No. And it's a learn as you go.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it relies on the individual so much. You have to wake up and being an entrepreneur or something like that. It's that same version that if I wake up and I lie in bed today, that's fine. That maybe my manager's like, "Why are you lying in bed?" But at the end of the day, it's on me. Yeah. And now I've got people around me. It's a little bit more accountable. As team grows and there's artists and labels and all that sort of stuff. You have a little bit more weight on your shoulders in terms of showing up and making sure you deliver. If you say you're going to do this, you do this. But that was not the case for 10 years of my life. It was if I didn't want to do anything that day, I didn't have to do anything that day. That drive to still show up and work hard every day, I think that's the thing that's that was sometimes the tricky bit.
Yeah. If you had to find somebody that was a inspiration for you, a motivator, somebody, a confidant, have you had any of those sort of those people around, someone that you could go to and say, hey, how did you navigate this part of the industry? Have you had those sort of people in your life?
I have ended up having a few of those people in my life. I'm lucky. It probably started with, I said my folks didn't understand it, but then my folks were always supporting of me. So I would say my mum and dad were a big, kind of consistent. There's been people that I've lent on now. Lee Kernaghan has been somebody that was somebody I can speak to about different stuff. Different people along the way. Adam Brand was great for giving advice and everything like that. Somebody that I'm speaking to daily, not so much. I don't have somebody that I'm is my mentor that is with me all the time. With that being said, I'm lucky that my manager Bo, he started. We have built this together. He's been day one. I met him, 2012, I think. Mm-hmm. Funny story about that. I'll tell you that story. It's because it's pretty wild. I met him. No, sorry, not 2012. 2015 is when I met him.
Okay.
He booked Red Tie, the corporate band, for a gig at the Great Western Hotel in Rockhampton. It was for a corporate event that was part of Beef Week. He was having it there, and he was the marketing manager for Beef Week. He was 19.
Marketing manager, 19?
Yeah.
He's kicking goals?
Kicking goals, right? So I went in there, I met the guy, and this is before I was like, I'm going to be an original artist, I'm going all in. I wasn't thinking about that, but I was writing songs. I said, one day I'm going to do this. It was still in the back of my mind. And I met him, spoke to him for 5 minutes, and I called my mum. And I said, I just met my future manager. Not a word of a lie.
Wow.
I said, I just met my future manager. I said, this guy's 19. He's incredible. He presents like he's you know, he was like a 30-year-old. He was a man. Like, I'm like, this guy he's got it together, right?
Yeah.
And I was just really impressed with him. But for whatever reason, you know, that feeling, that mix 7 feeling, I had that feeling. It was like there was a certainty to it. There was a connection.
Yeah.
And it took us like 6-7 years. And then I was just sending him songs every once in a while and everything like that. And then, but it was the moment that he went all in, he quit his job and I quit my job and everything like that. And we're all in on this. And now we've grown together and, you know, he's growing his business.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely one of those things that, you know, that he's probably been my mentor. Like we're back and forth. We bounce off things every day. We speak 5 times a day. You know, we are very close. And he always believed that, you know, he had one person that he was looking after and it was me. And he's like, I'm going to make you a superstar. Like, I'm going to work as hard as you
work.
He
obviously believes in what you've got
100%. He believes in me more than I believe in me a lot of the time. No, genuinely, like he's like, when I'm doubting myself, he's like, I told you, you know, you got to believe. He's like, I believe in you wholeheartedly. And he, so it's been great to have that person that we've grown with, and he traveled everywhere. Wherever I am, he's on the road with me, like, and through all the little gigs, promoting shows, traveling around the world. You know, he's right there with me, and we're kind of on this journey together. So I've been lucky to have that, like a kind of a friend on the journey with me.
What's the plans for breaking into America? So
I've got some interesting thoughts around this, right?
The question before that would be, are you interested in breaking into America?
So
I mean, it's the biggest market in the world. So
it is. America is the Mecca. However, with that being said, I love the idea of building this global career in a little bit of a different way. Mm-hmm. Recently, it was mentioned it was in South Africa, and you know, we've had.
I mean, I saw that online, and you know, you have Troy Wright playing drums for you at the moment. Yep. And obviously I spent a lot of time working with Troy, and that's one of the reasons why I saw it, I guess. But that looked amazing.
Yeah.
How did you come about to be doing a gig in South Africa?
So, I don't know, maybe this, I put this out in the world, these things out in the world, right? But I called my manager. I remember I saw a photo. Kip Moore posted a photo, who is this American country artist, but he's like a decent mid-level country artist, and he went to South Africa and he played a stadium with his own show, 45,000 people. And I saw a photo of it. And that day I called my manager. I said, I want to go to South Africa. That was the last time we spoke about it, right? Fast forward 2 or 3 months later, I was doing this radio interview and Kip Moore was one of the guests and came in, and I was the guest but I was like the house guest for the day. I was there and a bunch of different artists came in and talked. Kip Moore, I was there, I said, South Africa, like, how did that happen? It was cool to be able to ask him. And he said, well, I met this guy and he started playing my music on the radio, and all of a sudden he's like, you need to come over here. There's a fan base for you. And he said, we went over there. We first put on like a 2,000 pack show. It sold out in like 8 seconds. And then we put on an 8,000 pack show and it sold out in like a minute. And then they're like, are we just going to do a stadium? And they ended up playing a stadium and we sold 45,000 tickets. Wow. So, which was incredible, right? So that was that conversation. I was like, who is this guy? The guy that he spoke about. The next day, I was doing a songwrite that was just put together by the label. Warner came there and they said, you know, you're writing with this artist today. And it was a guy called by the name of Rowan Ash. Rowan Ash is a South African. And I said, so how did you end up in Nashville? He said, well, there's this guy and he played me on the radio a bunch, and then Warner Nashville kind of got word and it kind of blew up, and then I was there and I was like, it wouldn't have to be the same guy. And he's like, yeah. It's
so this guy's obviously got some influence.
This guy, right? And he said, I can send some of your music to him if you want. I said, please do. That'd be incredible. That was the last I heard of it. 3 months later, we get this phone call. And he said, you know, my name is Vimpy, and you know, I'm from South Africa. And I said, I'm putting on a festival. I said, we'd love to have you on. I've been playing your music on high rotation. And I was like, that's so cool. So we said yes. We accepted the festival, and it was, let's say it was in October. I can't exactly remember, but it was about 6 months before. And I called my manager after it got locked in. I said, if this is the guy, like this is really the guy, and clearly he is. There's whatever is happening. I don't know anything about South Africa. I said, I want to take him to dinner. And I said, I want to fly to South Africa, and I want to take him to dinner, and then I want to fly home. Nothing else. I said, I believe wholeheartedly the idea of sitting down with somebody, shaking hands, and that's how you do business. I said, I don't know what will come of it, but I believe that if I do that, something will come of it. Mm-hmm. My manager completely agreed. And he's like, I'm coming with you. We're going to both fly to South Africa, 48-hour trip, turn around, take him for dinner, fly home. And it's like a 24-hour trip to South Africa, but we believed in it. So we told him that we're going to do this. And he's like, if you're coming all the way to South Africa, how about I look after you for a week? How about you come over, you can promote your music, but also promote my festival. So we did that. So we flew to South Africa, and he looked after us, and it looked after us amazingly well. And we spent a week.
So this is crazy. I just got to Cape Town, and I'm driving in the car, and my song just came on the radio. I could go back in the day, when the world didn't seem so crazy.
Traveling around South Africa, doing all these TV, radio, and all that sort of stuff, and just got to know him really well. And when I was there, my buddy Rowan, who I met in Nashville, was like, you got to meet my other buddy, a fellow called by the name of Apple. And so I was like, okay, great. Well, I'm in Cape Town on this day. Let's catch up. And so we're at the stadium, and he rocked up, and we were watching a rugby game, and we just started chatting, and we got on like a house on fire, like really just like those people that you instantly just connect with, like we're kindred spirits. So the next day we're at this guy's house, Vimpy's house, and we just started writing this song. So we wrote this song, and it was called Countries for Me. And I had this vision that I wanted to write a song for South Africa, and I love the idea that celebrating the things that unite us. Like, through so much of my music is joy at the core of it, right? I often, when I'm starting to write my lyrics, I write joy at the top. That's what I want to bring through my music. Mm-hmm. But I was like, I love the idea, like, what if we do something totally different that nobody's ever done before, and we do English and Afrikaans, and we write a country song that celebrates the things that unite us. And I took that idea to him, and we're like, we love it. So we wrote this song, same thing, hour and a half later, the song wrote itself.
Wow.
And we walked out. We showed it. They've still got the video of like putting on the salad bowl as we're showing the team, right? So we played the song, and we went back and forth. I went back to Australia, went back and forth and recorded the song, and I was going back over for the festival. So I said, how about I come over 10 days beforehand and just hang out? Like, we got this song. We're going to put the song out. We knew the song was coming out, and I think the day before the festival. And I said, I'll spend 10 days with you. We can promote this. We can promote the song. I'll just travel with you. He's like, I'm doing a bunch of gigs. I'm like on the road. I said, I'll just come with you. I'll jump in the Land Cruiser with you. I'll just travel. No, that's just me. So I flew over there by myself, jumped in the Land Cruiser, and just started traveling South Africa. And it was the most incredible experience of my life, because I got to break down all the walls of being a tourist. I just was with him, and he's so loved over there. I didn't realize like he was how much of a superstar he is in South Africa. Everywhere we went, just like people stopping him constantly. He'd drive down the street, people even knew his car. Like the amount of people just waving to him to the street. I was like, this is amazing. Like he's really loved by the people. I think he's in the way that you talk about Lee Kernaghan celebrates Australia in Australianism, or John Williamson, right? This Apple kind of does the same thing for South Africa. So he's a proud South African celebrating South African culture. And we just started telling this story online, and it blew up. Like I'm talking, there's the Afrikaans population of South Africa is about 4 million people, right? And we're posting and getting like 1 million views, like that is speaking to South Africans, that is getting 1 million, 2 million, 3 million views every single time we're posting this stuff. Wow. It just spoke to pretty much the whole of that Afrikaans culture. And we knew we were onto something. You can feel there was an energy, and all of a sudden, like I'm starting to kind of, people stop me on the street and all that sort of stuff. Like the how quick it happened was insane. So over the course of 7 days, I went to South Africa as a kind of an unknown, and 7 days later, where people come on the street and this social media and everyone's following our story, and he's showing me South African culture, which was really cool. I think people really grabbed onto that he'd be like, this is what we did as kids. Like you should try this, or this is what we eat here, and all that sort of stuff. So we ended up playing, the song came out on the Friday night, and he said, jump up at my gig. And we went up on this there was probably 500 people in this venue. And we started singing the song, and it was one of the most crazy experiences of my life. This whole crowd just went nuts and was singing every word to this song, and it was just chaos. Like you see that stuff online where it's like some superstar walks into a room and everyone's like losing their shit, like there's phones up, everyone's like going crazy. That was the energy in this room. I was like, and we're singing this on stage, just looking at each other like, what is going on right now? This is crazy. So we had that experience.
Yeah.
The next night, same thing again. I was playing 1 o'clock on the main stage, but it was in a stadium in Cape Town, DHL Stadium. Played my set. Set was going great. Everything was good. And the last song, I said, we've got one more song for you. And we started playing this song, "Country Is For Me." And everyone on the stage just stood on their feet and just was starting to like sing this with us. It was the craziest experience of my life because I had that out-of-body experience that here I am in South Africa on the other side of the world, and this crowd is standing on their feet just singing this song with us. And I knew that we'd hit a vein. We'd tapped into a feeling. That, talk about that Raise Like That feeling. That was the only other time that I'd felt that same feeling of way that a song resonated with people was that song in South Africa. And yeah, it was crazy. So, I actually only came back last week. I was over there again. We won like Song of the Year for that song.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
congratulations.
Thank you. And it was, it was really exciting. And for me now, I can, we're planning to go over there and play some arena shows and everything in South Africa, which is just kind of blows my mind a little bit.
It does. That's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
All from that thing of connection with people and then connecting on a wider basis. How do you feel social media fits into the whole thing with music now? Because it's a constantly changing thing. Mm-hmm. And I guess your career, when you started, social media was a thing. What changes have you seen in as far as the way social media is, how you market music? Mm-hmm. What changes have you seen from when you very first started on, say, even just going from Idol to where we are now? Because Idol was how long ago now for you?
It's like 15 years. Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah. It's changed from then. It's a totally different landscape. I was really lucky that I had a buddy of mine who lives in Dubai, and he called me up one day and he's like, "Man, TikTok, get on TikTok." And I'm like, "Dude, I do country music in Australia." Like this was at this point before Raise Like That came out. I'm like, I'm doing country music, but I'm like, nobody cares about TikTok. He's like, "You're wrong. Everyone's going to be on TikTok. Get on TikTok now and start sharing your music." It's the best advice that I was so lucky that he gave it to me, because what it was is that no other country artists were on TikTok at that stage, right? Especially in Australia. And, I talk about that early people that get on early. I was one of those. So for me, it allowed me to skip all of the the budget for Raise Like That. We spent $1,000 recording that song and like $500 on marketing it. That was the entire budget that I've ever spent on that song.
Wow.
Which is insane. That song's changed my life,
Yeah.
There was zero budget. It was all fan driven. It was all from connection from social media, people blowing it up, and then everything like that happened. There was no team, none of that. And it was funny because a lot of people after the fact, they'd be like, "How did you make that happen? Like, who was your team? Who was doing marketing for you?" And I was like, "Nobody. We didn't even have a radio plug. We had to start plugging that stuff in after the song started kicking."
It's one of those things that happened organically.
It was 100% organic. Yeah. So for me, social media has been the backbone of my entire career. I would not, and to be honest, I don't think people would have paid attention to me or even, getting a label on board or showing interest. I don't think, I'm a bit of an outlier. Like I'm I just don't think my career would have been anything the way it is if it wasn't for allowed power to the people. We just put it out and see what connects.
Do you think someone starting out today, trying to build their career from scratch, mm-hmm. how much reliance on social media would that person have? Do you think it's a 100%? That's where you're building your fan base from now.
100%. Yeah, I would say. I think we're in the best time in history as an original artist.
Okay.
100% think from building an audience. It is your success is it's not always going to be easy, right? But if you're driven and you're willing to work super hard at creating the music content and not take your foot off the brakes, I think we're in the best time as an original artist because we're not governed by gatekeepers the way that the industry once was.
So it's about creating content as opposed to, I think, when I first started out, the way you got notoriety is you went out and gigged and gigged and gigged and in front of as many people as you possibly could.
Yeah.
And it was a very slow process of building up a fan base based on how many people could you get in front of to play.
Yeah.
It's a very different concept with the social media because obviously the reach is global.
Yeah. There's a couple of things that I can speak to that on. I think the reach is global. That's one of the exciting things. The idea of people say you're an Australian artist. I was like, no, you're not. Nobody isn't. Nobody is an artist governed by where they come from now. Like I had a hit in Norway, and I've never been to Norway. Like that doesn't make any sense. But I put a song out. It did not work in Australia, by the way. But the content that I put out, people resonated in the Scandinavian countries, and it found its home over there. I love that. I love the fact that we're not governed by this, like, you are now an Australian artist that we're going to market to Australia. It's like, you can be whatever. You can have a song in South Africa for all that matters. Like,
how do you know that the song's working in Norway? How does that translate? Is that something you get a notification of who's consuming your stuff online, or how do you find out about that?
Well, there's all like analytics now behind all the content and Spotify, but even on TikTok, I can see where the audience is watching it, their age group, everything like that. So you can just see. And it was like, there was one song that I posted and it kept being like Scandinavia, like Denmark, Norway, Sweden, like were the top by a good margin. What I think is interesting, the push and pull between the positive and the negative of social media, right? Mm-hmm. Is that the way people are consuming now is different, where like a 15-second snippet of a song can be the determining factor to the hit of the success of that song massively. You look at, there's a song called Ordinary by Alex Warren that's just come out. Like 10 to 15 second snippets of that song blew that song up to make it's now the number one song in the world. Benson Boone, that was the number one song in the world. Same thing, social media driven. However, the song still has to connect past that. I think it's important. People have viral moments, but the song still has to.
So there has to be a hook, but then the song as a whole has to connect.
But on the flip side, I think there's different. People sometimes have a perception, and my social media is different to different artists, right?
Yeah.
I'm more performative in my social media, right? It's almost like 1,000 little video clips, and there's like gags and jokes, and like I'm currently doing a song at the moment with my wife, and we're dancing around or whatever, right?
Yeah, I saw one the other day. It was in Bunnings.
Ain't crazy how life can turn around. When you made that blue jean, country boy string, everyone talks about. Get out one night, changes your life. Now you can't live without that little.
Right, yeah. So that's performative. But you don't have to do what I do to have success. Look at Zach Bryan. Zach Bryan puts his phone there, plays an acoustic guitar, and pours his heart out on a 2-minute video of the song that he wrote that day with an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's connection. And he just sold his catalog for $400 million, right? Like, and people are showing up to his concerts losing their mind. The only time that he's ever posted on social is by doing that, and it gets tens of millions of views.
Yeah.
That's still, like, it's different form of connection, right? It's different in the sense of, yes, there was, the days of going and playing that live performance and that was connecting, but somebody that they're telling their story that through that playing that song and that song, for me, I would argue that song is still connected to somebody, and that's in their purest of their own time, they get to watch that. That's that first level connection. Then they come to a show, and then they they're part of a community, and then there's a deeper level connection as you go along that pipeline. But I think throughout history, the landscape of like the music industry has always changed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the world is a changing place constantly. Yeah. Technology's changed. The way we can, like you say, the way we consume media has changed.
Totally changed. Yeah.
Are you on board with the putting an album out on vinyl? Is that something that you've done, or
I have? Yeah, I put it out. I think it's like,
it's an interesting. I just find that an interesting thing that in this day and age, people are going back to vinyl.
It is interesting. I think it's a very niche thing. Once again, depends on the career that you're having.
Yeah.
I don't think it's super important for me. I've done it, and we sold our vinyls. I don't think the James Johnston audience is specifically like waiting to go and get and play their vinyl. I just don't think that is my audience.
Even as a collectible, collectible thing,
that is something different. It's part of they get to hold something. I think that's
something
that feeling.
I own. It's like
Totally.
I guess it's that thing. It's if you're streaming music, it's nice because it's there and you can listen to it.
Yeah.
But the whole thing of buying a CD or buying, I guess it's the same with buying merch, buying the hat.
Yeah.
It's something tangible.
Something tangible. And I think there is lots of artists out there that the vinyl thing has been incredible for them lately because there's been a throwback to, and the sort of artists that people actually want to get a vinyl, put the vinyl on, they listen to it, they you know, it's like whatever it is about that feeling that it gives them a better feeling. But I think it's case by case. It's different artists have different sort of things that they represent. I feel like more like an indie artist might be more, you know, resonate with a vinyl buying sort of crowd.
So you're signed to a label. Mm-hmm. How does that work for you? Without going into the minute details of it.
Yeah. So I resisted for a long time with the label thing. So when Raise Like That came out, we got every label pretty much calling us saying, we want to sign you, right? I said no for 3 years. I just didn't want a label. I wanted to do it on my own terms. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm doing it indie. It's working, by the way, and I'm doing it. And I was doing, between my manager and I, we were building the websites. We, all those first album covers, we designed them. We did the graphic arts. I was like, I got tools to do all this myself. We did everything. We built the websites, did all of it.
Which I guess gives you a personal connection to the stuff too.
Yeah, it also allowed me, I really believe in this idea that music is a business, you know, still, and I think I wanted to understand every part of it before I let any of it go. I wanted to understand who was manufacturing my merch? What does it cost to do that? What's the cost of what does the website subscription cost? What is it I want to know every single part of my business before I let any of it go. So I really believed in that idea. So when I went and sat at a table with a label, I understood my business. And when somebody tries to pull the rug over your eyes, and absolutely that happens. There's plenty of deals where they sign you and you will lose all your rights and you will make no money. Then I wanted to sit at the table and go, no, I'm not going to do that. And the good thing now is because I waited for 3 years, we're a partnership, truly, and it works for both of us. And it was a year of negotiating with a label that I've got that we walked away from that deal 4 times. We just said no. We said it's not. We're not partnering in this. I hate all that contract stuff because my manager and I, we've got a handshake agreement. We've never signed a contract in our entire life. We're like, if you want to be here, be here. If I want to be here, I'll be here. The moment that we don't either want to be here, we'll walk away. I think with the label side of things is that they come from a different part and everything's got to be signed off and everything like that. But I'm really happy where we're at now because it is a partnership, and it's at the end of the day, the buck still stops with me, and I get to make the decisions on what song comes out and all the rest of it. There's not somebody can't tell me that. But if we both win, we win together. If we lose together, sort of thing. And I think that's really important. I think it's actually a partnership.
Yeah.
I can't speak to a lot of other labels or a lot of other deals.
I guess everybody makes their own deal.
Exactly.
And if you go into it's that thing of going into the situation with your eyes wide open.
It's so tricky because I don't want to speak negative to it. I think it's just back in that the power is in the artist's hands a little bit more than it ever has been. Mm-hmm. The idea that you can build your own career. Any young artist, I'm like, don't try and go and get a manager. Don't try and go and get anything. Build something that's worth something. That's build your career, build a fan base, have music out in the world, do all of it. Then once it's working, then build it, bring people in. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think the idea of going and saying, I got these songs, they're great, I want to bring a label in, and maybe that's just my experience, but I don't know. I don't believe in that anymore.
Is there any such thing as an overnight success? I don't think there is.
I don't think so.
Have you ever seen that for yourself?
No, I haven't. and I think anybody that has too quick a success often crashes pretty hard on the other side of it too. No, I don't. I haven't seen it. I haven't seen anybody that is just like an instant success. Everyone that I know, one thing that I know and I've learned from seeing other artists and everything, the ones that work hard are the ones that win. The ones that work hard are the ones that win every single time. Talent, you need to have talent, but talent without work ethic goes nowhere.
So I would say, for someone like you, you're maybe not necessarily even quite reaching the prime of your career yet.
Hope not.
Where do you see yourself in 10 years' time?
Back on the America thing, I still think I'll be in America. But I want to have a global career. Back on that, we're doing some things next year where I'm taking my music all around the world. and what we did in South Africa, but I want to take it all around the world with this concept that I got. I want to be traveling around the world. I want to be taking my family with me. That's one of the most important things to me, is that I'm not separate from my family. I want my family to be on the whole journey with me, and we get to have the big adventure together. I think just connecting with as many people around the world as possible. Making sure that, without forgetting about my hometown, be it my hometown Australia, whatever, however you present that. Just making good music, being happy, staying inspired. I think for me, what's really important is I always need to have a big challenge. So I think always I get bored with complacency really quickly. So when things are like at level, I get really anxious. I'm like, all right, what's the next Everest? What are we trying to climb? So I don't exactly know where that next Everest is going to be. I got ideas for next year and where we're going, but I just want to keep building upon and just connecting. And I don't know, that's kind of the dream at this point. Well,
I wish you every success. It's been a pleasure watching where things are going so far. I love watching the short songs that you do online, the little bits where you're out kicking your feet in the dirt, running around the countryside, the stuff in Bunnings with your wife. Thank you very much for coming and spending some time with me today.
It's great to chat. Thank you so much.
I look forward to seeing more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.